Hello Crochet is the Way followers, and welcome newcomers. Today I'll show you how to make this double crochet cross stitch scarf. The stitch is in a multiple of 2. So however many stitches wide you want your scarf to be, you will need to chain 2 for each one of these pattern stitches. Additionally, I have made a border or a selvage row, if you want to call it that, where there's a double crochet on the end of the row and a double crochet at the beginning of the row. That makes it so much more easy to work this pattern. Scarves are pretty versatile. Gauge isn't terribly important, but if you do want to worry about it, my gauge turned out to be 8 pattern stitches, which would be 16 stitches across, because each one of these pattern stitches is 2 double crochet and 8 rows, and that is with a 5mm hook, size H8, the same one used to work the matching hat. If you're interested in the pattern, you'll be able to find a link in the description. And you may have found yourself here already from that video, because I will be sending you here to learn how to work your gauge swatch for the pattern. And of course, we've got my favorite Cakes yarn. Still raving about it. That yarn's awesome. But as I've mentioned previously in the video for the hat, Cakes is 20% wool. So if you do have a wool allergy, or if it tends to irritate your skin and you want to use an equivalent yarn, any worsted weight acrylic yarn would hold up well to this pattern, as long as it doesn't tend to split a lot. Something fuzzy, it's going to make it a lot more difficult to work the stitches. I'll give you a moment to gather your materials if you need, and when I come back, I will show you how to begin your scarf. This is a great place to pause the video if you need to get ready. I'll see you soon. As we begin, I'll talk through the number of stitches you'll need to follow the exact pattern for the scarf you see here. But first, I'll show you that we're not going to begin with a slip knot. Just yarn over your hook. The working yarn in front, the tail in the back, bring the tail forward. Yarn over. You may want to hold that loop secure right there and pull through. You can leave that loop big for right now if you want and tighten it up later. It's just like a slip knot, but without the knot, and it counts as a chain. So there are 10 double crochet cross stitch across in my scarf, which is a total of 20 double crochet, and then 1 on each side. So I've already chained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's half of them. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are our pattern stitches. Now for the double crochet at the beginning and the double crochet at the end, 1, 2 more. It's 22 stitches across. The yarn is fighting me. And then usually, if you're not a complete total beginner here, you know that for a double crochet you would chain more than one, but we're not going to do that here. We're going to use a chain 1 as a placeholder, and then we're going to make a double crochet in what will be the first stitch. The first stitch will have a double crochet in it, and that chain 1 just gets skipped over. So, for beginners, here's your last one made. That's your beginning first stitch, the chain that you'll work into. So hang on to it or mark it if you need to. Chain 1, yarn over, and that would now be the second chain from the hook. Make a double crochet. And that is our first one, and that stops us by having a double crochet at the beginning of the row. That stops us from having to work backwards at the beginning of the row, like you'll see next for the first stitch. The double crochet cross stitch. Skip 1 chain, working into the next, make a double crochet. Now for the next stitch, you'll work into that skipped chain, and that's where the very first row here is the most difficult, working into these chains. Yarn over for your double crochet, come around to the back, and I will show you my trick where I cheat. I don't bother trying to scoop into that or anything. I just use my thumb and push the hook right under the bottom bar of the chain. Then you need to flip it back around so that you're behind that double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2 to complete the stitch. Now you see, if I get it in the camera, right here is where the first double crochet was made. So from there you skip 1, work into the next, make a double crochet, come around behind the double crochet, find your skipped chain, and make a double crochet. Now it can pull a little bit and trick your eyes, so make sure, because having the stitch pull over like this pulls this chain open, make sure you're counting from the top. It sort of fools your eyes. Make sure you're counting, that you know you have 1 here, so 1, 2, skip 1. Double crochet around to the back, and double crochet in the skip chain. Now we're going to work all the way to the end of the row, except for the very last stitch will have just 1 double crochet in it. If you're here from the video of the hat, then as you already know. If you're brand new here, then you don't know yet. I am horribly sick right now. I'm not going to talk your ear off and waste my voice. We'll work to the end of the row, and I'll come back right before that very last stitch. See you soon. Alright, moving on. I've reached the end of my row. I'll wait just another moment in case you need time to pause the video and catch up. Now I should say that I've almost reached the end of my row. I have one more stitch to make, that last double crochet. Now if you left this loop nice and big, it's super easy to work into, and you can pull it tight to match the rest of the chains. To begin another row, again, we're not going to use a chain 3 to count as a double crochet. Absolutely not. That leaves too big of a gap. And we're not even going to use a chain 2. Just chain 1. Turn. And make a double crochet in the very first stitch. That is your first stitch. There's no working into the turning chain with this pattern. And if you want to work a gauge swatch before you work the pattern, if you're trying to change the size of the scarf or whatever you're creating, this would be great for a blanket, anything. If you're here from the hat video, you'll probably want to go ahead and use that edge stitch in your gauge swatch, because that's how the patterns worked. But you don't really have to if you're making the scarf. You don't really have to work a gauge swatch, because this is not too much bigger. Well, it's a little bigger than a gauge swatch would normally be, but it gives you plenty of room to measure your stitches, and you're not running over the edge and doing any guesswork. I've already made the first stitch while I talked. I'll show you again. It's pretty self-explanatory. Every stitch is the same from here. You skip the first one, you double crochet in the next, and then swing around, scoop in there, pull up a loop, and make a double crochet in the skipped stitch. And this whole pattern is nothing but that, worked over and over and over again, with some nice color play thanks to the Cakes yarn to give it a little extra character. But I think it would look good in a solid colored yarn too. And I will show you when I get far enough on this piece here. I will measure the gauge out so you can see it. The scarf that I showed you, that you can still see peeking out in the background there, I usually like my scarves to be a little bit longer than where I'm ending that one at. I'm only working that to 60 inches, and it's already there. I'm ready to bind off. I'm only waiting because I'm going to use that to show you. The reason why I stopped at 60 inches is nothing other than the color. The yarn started with about half the length of one color, and when I reached that color again and worked it to about the same length as the beginning, I said, ooh, I like that. It's a little shorter than I would normally make it, but I think I'm going to leave it like that because it matches. Alright, I'm to the end of my row, and you can see there, it's super easy. Our last double crochet. If I could get some light, I'd show you. It's super easy. That's our first double crochet right there that we work into. We don't need to fight with a turning chain. I'll show you one more time how to start a row, and then I'm going to take a break and you can work on. chain 1, turn, yarn over and make a double crochet in the very first stitch. Skip the first stitch, make a double crochet in the second, scoop back there and make your double crochet in the skipped stitch. Alright, I'm going to continue to work on, like I said, I need to save my voice right now, so if you need to pause the video while you work on, when I get to the same height as it is wide, I'll be back. See you soon. Welcome back again. I've tried to improve my lighting a little bit. I hope that helps. So I'm going to show you one last time, just in case you weren't able to see it well enough before. To start a row, yarn over, chain 1, turn, yarn over, insert the hook in the first stitch, make a double crochet, and skip 1, make a double crochet in the next, swing around, catch that skipped stitch, and make a double crochet. I hope that helps a little bit. I seem to be having some trouble between getting it to focus and lighting issues. I can't do too much about the sun going down, and I'm not finished. We just have to deal with these things. So if you are working the scarf exactly as shown, it's not very wide. So if you end at 60 inches, then you'll definitely have more than enough left in your cake to make the hat that I showed you. If you make your scarf longer than 60 inches, you could just go ahead and use the whole cake, and that would make a very nice scarf. At the same time though, if you want to work a wider scarf, because this one is only, I think it's just a little over 6 inches wide. No, it's just 6 inches wide, which would be, what would that be, about 14 centimeters? 15 centimeters? If you make it wider, then I can't guarantee you're going to have enough in your cake to make the hat. And that just gives you an excuse to buy more yarn, right? We all like that. But I also like one ball patterns, so here, if you follow exactly as these videos show you, you'll be able to get a hat and a scarf out of one cake. And if you get it on sale, that's even better. Alright, let's see, I think I've got 9 rows here. Actually, I have 11 rows. I had to count that twice, just to make sure. So in 11 rows, I've got a total of 14 centimeters wide here, and that is just under 6 inches on the swatch I'm making here. So my gauge is a little bit tighter than how I was working before. but it's still very close. If you're making a gauge swatch, you don't want to count the double crochets at the edge as part of the pattern, because 8 stitches, what I mean by that, 8 pattern stitches, is those 2 double crochet together. Pattern stitch, the cross double crochet. Double crochet cross stitch. That's the correct term, sorry. I had so much trouble finding. I thought I had invented something new, but I could have swore I learned this in a book somewhere. And I'm looking everywhere because I had the wrong name of the stitch in my head. So in 4 inches is where I'm going to measure. That would be 10 centimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and not quite 9. It ends, you can see, at 8, where that second double crochet is made for that set. And then in rows, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I lost my finger. That sounded ridiculous. That's being sick talking. I didn't lose my finger, I lost sight of my finger in the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a little tiny bit taller than 8. But round off there. It's 8, right? Alright, I'm going to bring my scarf back into view here, and I'll show you how when you get to the end of your scarf, you can bind off the pattern and weave in the ends if you need help with that. See you back soon. Thanks for sticking with me here. I am ready at row 120 to bind off my scarf. Going to cut the yarn, leave yourself about 6 inches, and pull through the last stitch. And using my very last yarn needle that my troll has not stolen, you can see, you probably can't see because my camera won't focus. Oh. Well, where you bend this around, I hope you can see well enough even though that won't focus. I think I have a troll in my camera. The very last stitch there, don't pull that tight. See where this loop comes around here? Let's see if I can pull it out so it shows better in all that blurriness. Follow that around and go through there under those 2 loops. Now be careful, don't let that last loop pull too tight, because we're going to come back up, go through that loop, just to give it something to secure it, and then back down through that last loop, and that will give you a nice square edge when you bind off with nothing sticking out. And if you are here from the hat video, then you may have already watched me show you this on the pattern for the hat. Once you get yourself over into the double crochet cross stitches here. It's really easy to hide your yarn and just go right through the middle of those, down through it, and just make sure that you're not skipping anything on the back side and leaving a big loop sticking out. You can go back and forth through there. And no one will ever see it. You can be a little bit sloppy, and the pattern hides that for you, because it's so much easier to just kind of fill your stitches with the needle and follow around wherever it'll let you go into. But try to come back around and work the other direction a few times if you can. I can finish that off later. I think you can get the point from there. I hope that helps. I know I'm not doing the best video today. The sun went down on me, and so did my immune system. I am so sick, and it's not very easy to get this done, so. Not complaining though. Well, I'm complaining about being sick, but I'm not complaining about doing the video. I hope you were able to enjoy it, and I hope you have fun making your scarf, or whatever you choose to make with the double crochet cross stitch, the matching hat, turn it into a blanket. Ooh, let's make some boot cuffs that match this. That would be awesome. I bet you might see that pattern soon, because I've got a lot of scrap sitting around. Look at how much is left of this ball from making that 60-inch scarf. So like I said, you'll have plenty to make the hat if you choose to make the hat. You'll have plenty to make your scarf wider, longer, however you want to make it. But I chose to end here just so that would match. Can you believe that? We'll see if I like my short scarf. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Hopefully I won't be sick in the rest of them. And stop by the Crochet is the Way blog if you want to see written patterns. Thanks for sticking with me. I love you guys. Have a great day.